A lot of spiritual teachings talk about, the experience of consciousness itself as a very liberating experience. They also talk about it as something that is always present, it's always available to us. It just depends, our noticing of it just depends on where we're putting our attention. And, from an Enneagram perspective, we have these three centers of intelligence, the head, the heart, and the gut or the body. Each one of them is a level, is a center where we can experience consciousness or the divine, we could say, in a different way, in multiple different ways. And a lot of people, there's a lot of talk in spiritual teachings about getting out of the mind, getting beyond the mind. Something I find that the Enneagram really clarifies is that we can get out of our mind in a sense, but typically when we do that, when we awaken from the mind, it's not that we're leaving our head necessarily. Those are different. Because, the awakened head center is something really valuable. And actually, a lot of spiritual teachings that talk about getting out of the mind still very much value the awakened head center, whether they call it that or not. They may even say, get out of your head. But they're still talking about that ordinary thinking mind, the mind that has incessant thoughts and talks continuously. But those spiritual teachers might point to that there's a silence, a stillness, an awareness that's just prior to, or we could say underneath, all around that thinking mind with its continuous commentary. That there's a consciousness that's all around that mind. And it's totally quiet and ever present, as those teachings say. But when we realize it as spaciousness, as stillness, as silence, that's experiencing it at the level of the head center. Like I said, whether those teachings say that or not, it's actually consciousness being experienced at this level. As opposed to here, for instance, where it could be experienced more as like a boundless, open quality of love, or gentleness, or compassion. It could be experienced a totally different way in the heart center or in the body. And what I want to highlight in this video is that one of the ways of experiencing the awakened head center, and it's associated with point 7 on the Enneagram in particular, is as this open space of consciousness. It's a completely boundless space in which everything is arising. So, you can take any object or any thing in your experience, and you can ask, is there awareness of that? And there always is, right? Whatever object it is there awareness of this video? Of course there is. Is there awareness of the words and the room and the device that it's being watched on? There's awareness of all those things. So we can notice, even through logic, that the awareness is always there. But another way of experiencing that awareness, almost like another facet of it or another angle on it, is as this open space that everything is arising within. So it's not just that there's awareness of things, but that things are happening in a boundless, invisible space that's conscious. And sometimes, an accurate way that we could say it is that awareness is the space in which things happen. It's the space in which things happen, in which everything happens all the time. And we can actually identify with this space. And it's very, very liberating. And that starts to clue us into the connection with Enneagram point 7, because what 7 looks for in their life is they look for freedom. On relative levels, they want to have they want to be free to have options, go where they want to go, experience different things, and keep their options open. Many different possibilities of life, and the mind can imagine all these possibilities. Well, on a spiritual level, they're looking for the spiritual freedom, the freedom of consciousness. And that's actually, in a sense, it's what everything happens within. We could say everything happens within the space of awareness, but from another point of view, everything is happening within the space of freedom. Everything's happening within freedom. So consciousness is always free in the sense that it's never affected by what arises within it. We're relatively affected. We may have lots of emotions and sensations and thoughts, feel all sorts of different things, and be impacted in all sorts of relative ways, and it can be quite intense. But the space of consciousness is unfazed. It's always already free. And like I said, we can realize this, and when we do, it's actually the head center awakening or opening. And from a chakra's point of view, it's the higher chakras are actually opening and aligning. It's the same thing. But the point is that that's the freedom. The freedom that we look for is the freedom that everything happens within and inside of. So it's not a step forward, it's always a step backwards. Not towards something, but back into what something arises within. So this is the boundless space of freedom, the freedom of consciousness, awakening the head center. And for more Enneagram content, check out my channel, Enneagram Revolution.